The Bridge to Nowhere. That was the name of this hike my friend Gary took me on. It was about an hour outside of LA, and it was 10 miles, and that's all I knew. And we head out there. We were going to leave early in the morning, so we had the whole day to hike. But by the time we got to the trailhead, it was 1 p.m. Sun sets at 6, so we figured 10 miles. I looked it up on the internet. It was supposed to take maybe 3 hours. We're fine. No problem. Only thing is, we were 3,000 feet up above sea level. A little higher than I thought. We didn't really have any warm clothes, just a thin pair of nylon pants and a long sleeve t-shirt. But, it wasn't that cold out. We were only going to be gone a couple hours. Seemed like we'd be okay. Now, we didn't bring any food, because who needs food if you're only going to be hiking for 3 hours? So I figured I better kind of go through my car and see what I could salvage. There was a tiny little apple about this big that I'd had sitting in my car for about a month, and it still looked edible. So I put that in my bag, just in case. Then there was a quarter bag of trail mix from Trader Joe's that had been sitting in my car for well over a year. The chocolate chips inside had melted and then coagulated with sunflower seeds stuck in it. It didn't really look like food, but I figured, in a pinch, I'd better bring it along just in case. Probably won't eat it, but, just in case. So, we start our hike, 10 miles. It was nice out, We started quite gaily chatting about life and such. We saw the usual things you see at a river hike, guys fishing, a couple people coming back from the hike, a couple people camping along the river in the first, few minutes of the hike. Then we hike in a little deeper, and we see a guy with a handlebar mustache panning for gold in the river, panning for gold. And I look at this guy and I think, damn, this guy looks, if I had been, say, a pioneer in San Francisco in 1865, and I come across a time machine and walked inside and programmed it for 2008, and then poop, opened the door, and there I was in the Angeles Crest National Forest on the hike to the Bridge to Nowhere, standing in this river, looking at this guy with a handlebar mustache, panning for gold. I would have thought, damn, not much has changed. That's what it was like. And we kept walking. Now, I booked on the internet, like I said, and this hike supposed to be 3 hours. There's supposed to be a few river crossings. I think it said 4 or 5 throughout the hike. This was a big river, wide river, a rushing river with strong currents. Now, someone had said that they'd done the hike with their 4-year-old. So I figured, I'm 34. That means I could do it, right? So we hike for maybe 15, 20 minutes. We hit our first river crossing. The trail ends, you have to cross the river, otherwise you gotta scale giant boulders, right? So we start crossing the river. Now this is pretty strong current, and we have big sticks, and you gotta dig your stick into the sand and push it in so you can survive the current, and it's so strong that it feels like, if you drop your stick or lost your footing, you'd go down the river, bash your head on a rock, and be carried off to sea. That's what it felt like. And I was thinking, damn, some 4-year-old did this? That is some crazy 4-year-old. I'd like to be that 4-year-old. So we cross that one crossing. We go for a couple more minutes. And then the trail ends again. We have to cross again. Okay. A couple more minutes. We have to cross again. And after 15 minutes, we've done 4 crossings, and that's what it said. There's supposed to be 4 crossings. So we did those 4 crossings, but we'd only gone a quarter mile so far, and there's 9.5 miles left. So I'm thinking, is this are we on the right trail? But my friend Gary, he's happy, whistling, everything's fine. So I just keep going, following him. He's a stronger guy than me. He's a wilderness man. He'll be able to, I'll just follow him. Everything will be all right. So we keep going, crossing. After 45 minutes, we've made probably 10 river crossings. We're totally soaked, and totally exhausted because, we're barely going any distance because we're just going cross. And I'm thinking, this doesn't really seem right. How could we do 10 miles like this in 3 hours? But I kept going. I thought, well, eventually we'll come to like a trail or something. So we go, and it seems like we've gone an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, right? But we don't know because we don't have a watch. Because we didn't bring a watch. We didn't bring our cell phones because we thought, you know what, there's no coverage out here anyway. Let's just leave it in the car because why would we need it? But now we're like 2 hours into the middle of the wilderness and we don't know what time it is. And the sun's going to set at 6 o'clock. So figure if it's like 3 now, we turn around, it takes another 2 hours, 5, okay, that's all right. We're like in the, the safety zone there. But we keep going because we want to see the bridge to nowhere. So we keep going, we keep walking, and then eventually we come to this tent, right, set up next to the river. And so, okay, good, people, we can ask them, figure out, kind of check in, make sure everything's okay. And these two guys, I think they're Korean guys, don't speak any English. They have hair in like places that no, normal person has hair, just like poof, coming out everywhere. Like these guys, they're from Korea, but they look like they were born and raised in this spot in the middle of the wilderness next to the river. And they don't know what the hell we're talking about. We're looking for the bridge to nowhere. Do you know where that is? They don't know. They look either like they have not communicated with people from the outside world in many, many years, or they're just stoned out of their minds. Anyway, they're not going to help us. So we just keep walking. Keep walking, maybe another 30 minutes. Now at this point, I'm getting a little bit worried. It's been probably 2.5 hours, maybe 3. I don't know because I don't have a watch. I'm thinking we're right around the time here where if we don't turn back, it's going to get dark. And there is no way we could cross this river in the dark. Like if it gets dark, that's it. We're going to have to like wait until morning or something. So we keep going. And I'm saying, Gary, I think maybe we should turn back now. But Gary keeps saying, well, what if it's right around this bend? And what if right around this bend is the bridge? We don't want to go and then you find out we could have seen it'll be like a loss. We'll be losing to the river. We can't lose to the river. And I'm like, we already lost to the river. But we kept going, right? And then we turn around a bend hoping to see the bridge. But instead of the bridge, what I see is a big pit bull running at me. Running at me. And it's not just a pit bull. It's a pit bull with like one of those collars with spikes coming out. As if like its growling teeth and slobbery mouth wasn't enough to say, I'm not your friend. It had like a spiked collar just to sort of accentuate that it was not going to be friendly to me. Right? And it's running at me, and I don't like dogs, generally. I like nice, soft, sweet dogs, but not pit bulls or Rottweilers. Don't like them. So I'm thinking, okay, now I'm going to die in the middle of a wilderness. A pit bull is going to bite my neck, and I'm going to die. All right, and then we hear this guy calling the pit bull off, Sparky, come back here. Oh, don't worry, he's okay. Right, and this guy comes out, and there's a tent there, and this guy comes out of the wilderness, and this guy is just as hairy as the guys we saw, a half an hour ago. Again, poof, with hair everywhere, and he smiles at us, and he's got, like, one tooth here is missing, and the other tooth is, like, pointed, like, that way, with half of it gone, like, half of it's chipped off, and it's purple. And he says, what are you guys doing out here? We don't see people. How do you get out here? And we're like, okay, I guess that means, we're not on the right trail. We're looking for the bridge to nowhere. He's never heard of the bridge to nowhere, right? He goes, well, maybe my dad will know. So he goes and gets his dad out of the tent, and his dad comes out, and this guy is like he can't stop moving in his mouth, and he's like squirming around. He's, what? You're looking for the bridge to nowhere? You're on the wrong trail, man. You came the wrong way, man. But I could take you to the bridge to nowhere. It's hard, but I could take you up there. I could lead you right up there. It's just smoke me out. We said, well, we don't have any marijuana to smoke you out with. And now this guy could not wrap his mind around the possibility that two men like me and my friend Gary would go into the wilderness without at least a day's supply of marijuana. He knew we either had to be lying or just we'd already smoked. He said, what do you mean? You don't have any? What? How could you don't? What? Really? What? Don't hold out on me, man. So anyway, this guy knows where the bridge to nowhere is. All right, but he won't take us unless we can provide him with marijuana, which we cannot. So he does agree to give us some directions, right? Go up here, you'll see some trees. When you see the trees, go up a hill. And when you see that, you'll see the river and go, like, I couldn't even listen to their directions, but I assume that my friend Gary is getting them down and he's ready to go. Now at this point, I'm going, oh, like, shit, like, how far are we now? We're like, it's gotta have been 3.5 hours, right? Like, this crazy guy tells us that if we can get up to the bridge to nowhere, then there's like a really easy trail and we can make it back in like 2 hours. So even if it's 4 right now, instead of having to go back the way we came and get there, at 7 past dark, we can take this trail and we'll get there by 6. So everything is okay, no problem. So we start walking, trying to follow this guy's directions, looking for a line of trees. The thing is, we're in a forest and there's lots of trees. In fact, pretty much everywhere there's trees because it's a forest. And that's what a forest is. An area filled with trees. So we don't find a line of trees. And we don't find a path going up a hill. And we go for another 30 minutes or so. And we decide, okay, we don't know where the hell we are. Now we can either keep going, searching for this path, or we can turn around and at least know, that we're on the way back. Now at this point, I've hit panic mode. And panic, I think I realize now that I don't think I've ever really panicked. Because panic doesn't just mean like, oh my God, I'm scared. Panic means like you start doing stuff that doesn't make any sense at all. Like your mind, you're in such a fluster that you just start doing, like you lose all common sense. Like we had to cross the river a number of more times. And at this point we're thinking, we might have to stay the night out here, like with no food and with these, thin pants and a thin t-shirt. We might have to stay the night.